with Jason Tatum, what he was able to do yesterday, it's one thing to have that kind of performance, and you guys know this, being in those kind of big moments. But this all got started in the fourth quarter of Game 6, where he went out there in the final 6 minutes, JWill, and he busted him in the mouth, and then he carried it over. And it seemed to me that Philadelphia didn't put up any kind of resistance to what he did at the end of Game 6 and all through Game 7 yesterday.
I mean, look, man, I'm sitting there watching the game the other day, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is why people love Jason Tatum. That ceiling it was prolific, man. It was prolific. You got a chance to witness something incredible, a guy who just made tough shots. Now, here's the thing that's beautiful about it, too. Like, he works out with Joel Embiid in the offseason with Drew Hanlon. So these two know each other's moves. They mirror each other's moves. And that's why you end up seeing Joel Embiid do a lot of stuff on the perimeter, because he has that ability. But Jason Tatum knows how Joel beats. And literally, not only did Joel Embiid have a rough day offensively, we'll talk about that in a second, but more so he got targeted defensively. Jason Tatum kept finding him and kept exploiting that matchup. And when he's shooting like that, Key, when they shoot the ball like that, there's no stopping this squad. They're dangerous.
And when you talk about no stopping the squad and being dangerous, anytime a guy can hit you with 51 and go 17 from 28 and go downtown the way that he was doing from deep, you're going to give him, as you like to say, his flowers. This is the type of game that Jason Tatum, I believe, needed to get people to look at him differently in his basketball career. Take the next step. Yes, you went to the championship last year, but you struggled in the championship. But here you are in a pivotal moment, Game 7, the highest scoring Game 7 in history in the NBA, 50-plus points. You know, it's ridiculous to see a guy do this when 2-3 games ago we were scratching our heads as to where is he. But like you just said, Freddie, Game 6, fourth quarter, carried over into this particular game. Now, can he carry that on into the Eastern Conference Final against the Miami Heat? We'll see.
I'm just glad.
Freddie,
go ahead, Jay.
This is, I would say real quick, Freddie, this thing last year, y'all, like literally when they were down 3-2 and they went into Milwaukee for a closeout game for the Bucks, like he dropped 40-plus in that game. It was a demonstrative performance, and they came back to Boston and they won. And so, like, he's done this before, but these are the things that make you continue. It's the same scenario. Closeout, didn't play well in Philly until the fourth quarter, had 16 points, and then the game comes back to Boston, and he puts on a masterful performance, a masterclass, essentially.
And this is probably the reason where we have these conversations about Brown versus Tatum. They got him on the trading block, but is it really – why do they pick and choose? Well, maybe they see stuff like this that he could – do these sort of things in these type of moments so he becomes more valuable. We was asking that question. Is he more valuable? Is he more valuable? Why do they seem in Boston to endure him more than Jaylen Brown? Well, maybe they're the answer. There was the answer in Game 7 for you.
Keyshawn, JWill, and Max on ESPN Radio and ESPN2 and ESPNU. Trampolining off what both of you guys said. We all know that stars matter, but it's how they make other people play. And we saw that from Jason Tatum in the fourth quarter in Game 6. We saw that yesterday in Game 7, that he raised everybody else's level outside of the 51 points. He joined 4 other players to have at least 50 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in a playoff game. He joined the likes of Wilt Chamberlain, also Russell Westbrook, what he was able to do with that kind of performance. But everybody else was able to raise their level. And I think that's why I call them the goofy Boston Celtics guys at times, because we should see this more often from this basketball team. They had no business, in my opinion, being down 3-2. It wasn't that Philadelphia was thoroughly outplaying them. They weren't. But they do so many goofy things that you say to yourself, you guys have way too much talent and way too much ability and mental capacity that you shouldn't be playing like this. And then all the goofiness was eradicated when it happened in the fourth quarter in Game 6 and all yesterday. I mean, Al Horford looked like Al Horford back at Florida, the way he was defending Joel Embiid. Seriously. I mean, Joel Embiid looked at Al Horford and said, where was this guy the first 6 games of this series? Because he was defending like a demon. And Malcolm Brogdon was doing his thing. And Jaylen Brown, and we talked about this before the show got started, Key and Jay, when he got hit in the mouth, inadvertently, but it's still a flagrant, they upgraded that flagrant foul against James Harden. That got the crowd back into it. They go on a 6-7-0 run to take that game and bring it back to them. And then that's when Jason Tatum lost his mind, and the Philadelphia 76ers couldn't do anything about it. They stopped being the goofy Celtics, at least for one day.
Well, they stopped kind of defending too. I mean, look, a lot of those shots were tough. Like, actually, I take that back. They were defending. The shots that they were making were tough, man. I do have to say this though, y'all, and I'm glad we always start the show because I know how people listen to the show when you start off with one team as opposed to the team that actually won. I'm glad that we gave the Celtics their flowers. We'll talk more about them in that Heat series coming up. But
Jay,
I know I did it again,
shots.
but.
No, Jay.
Don't argue with me about that again. I can't. Max is off today. Don't get my blood steamed, Key.
Okay.
But I'm going to say this, though. Freddie, I can't take Joel Embiid roaming around the perimeter anymore.
Oh, God.
I can't do it, y'all. It's like I'm on the phone yesterday with people, and we're talking. I'm like, why are there no design plays to get his ass on the block and just be – the reason why you love Jokic, Key, is because Jokic, like fighter-wise, right? It's like you're in a phone booth, man. Like you're just body blow.
That would be the reason you love him, because I don't love him.
But that's my thing. So you're telling me you love this? You love a dude who don't get in the phone booth, who don't want to scrap and hit body blows, who wants to settle for outside jumpers? Even when he gets the ball on the block, he hits you with the turnaround fadeaway. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what? Please start hitting some body blows. Be aggressive. But Doc didn't even design plays for him, and he's still floating around the perimeter. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 32 closeout games.
Ooh.
Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 7 series when leading 3-2. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 10 Game 7s. Doc Rivers has lost an NBA record 12 series when holding a series lead.
Worst and one mixtape ever.
But Doc Rivers ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He'll be the head coach of the 76ers next year because he is tied to Daryl Morey. Like, these two together, do you guys see when the game was over, Daryl Morey, gave him a dap while he was going into the locker room? And I just feel like, look, they won 54 games this year. Can people get really frustrated at the fact that they didn't close it out in Philly? Sure. Can you get frustrated at the effort that you have from your 2 stars in the Game 7? Sure, 1,000%. But I do feel like this trust that is there between general manager and head coach and that relationship between James Harden and Joel Embiid, just my sense is that we will get that same core back next year. Like, there are additional pieces this team can add. I know people don't like the way things ended yesterday. I just don't see Daryl Morey making a move as it relates to Doc Rivers as head coach or Joel Embiid or James Harden. I don't.
You said, Jay, the core coming back, but the core includes James Harden. You mentioned him at the end right there. You say that Daryl Morey, you can see him coming back, but isn't it on James to make that decision on whether or not he wants to be in Philadelphia or somewhere else?
Facts. I mean, look, a lot of people talk about Houston, him going back potentially Houston. I just, at this stage of your career, why would you want to leave Joel Embiid? Like, that's the best player you've ever played with. It makes sense, and his game has adapted. Like, the guy led the league in assists. I mean, I've had conversations with Alan Gates about this over the last several days. I've never seen one of the most innovative scorers the game of basketball has ever seen change his game a variety of ways and still be at the top. Like, he's like the way he could fill out the game now, leading the league in assists a couple years ago. This year, 10-plus assists. The game he feels the game. And is every game going to be a Game 7 where you're going to get the best performance? No, but, I mean, there were 2 games throughout this series, guys. Without him, they don't win the games.
Right.
No, I understand.
How that equates into a deal, I think Daryl Morey can masterfully come up with something, but I do think you'll see the key cogs of this team be back next year. I do.
Keyshawn, JWill, and Max on ESPN Radio as well as ESPN2. Here's something else, and you guys can weigh in on this, and you guys should weigh in on this. Sometimes you just don't come up big in big moments. And I hate to be that guy when it comes to James Harden because, Jay, I'm with you. He was magnificent in Game 1 without Joel Embiid. He single-handedly won that game for Philadelphia and flipped everything around against Boston. And then he hits the game-winning shot in overtime in Game 4. So you have to believe that that's there at a certain point. But how many times have we keep waiting for the other shoe to drop with James Harden? They'll have a game like that and you say, okay, can he do it again? And then people get mad that James Harden supporters say, you're not giving our guy a chance. We've seen this time and time again where he's had these opportunities. Game 7, a chance to go on the road. A place you won 2 out of the first 3 games on the road in this series for Philadelphia. And both of those guys, but especially James Harden, he came up limp once again in a big-time situation. I'm not saying that they need to push him away or push Doc out of the way, whatever that is. You guys made the point. You win 54 games in regular season. That's hard to do in the NBA and be a third seed in a better Eastern Conference than people could have anticipated. But all of a sudden, at a certain point, if you're Philadelphia, do you look at James Harden and say, dude, what is it with you that when we really need you in those big moments, and you always seem to come up small no matter how great your NBA career has been?
I don't know, Freddie. Like, I know that everybody on the team deserves blame. This is a team sport. I get it. James Harden, obviously a pivotal piece. But like, today, the bigger story is about this is Joel Embiid's team, man. True. And it does feel like every time we're in one of these situations, people naturally go to Doc. People naturally go to that other player. And I know he played hurt. And I applaud him for that. But at some point, like, we need to see a Joel Embiid who is more fierce on the block, who demands things from his teammates. We need to see, like, even like the post game, like the slight slander at Giannis. Like, he said everything right during the post game. Now there's one clip out there that people will take out of context. They think that he was only talking about him and James Harden. Everybody else, deserves to be better. But he actually gave himself accountability. But like these little moments where he says the comment about Giannis, he's like, well, it's not a failure. It's just steps towards success. And he like laughing and giggling. There's a certain aspect of him where I'm like, come on, man. Like, you don't even need to do that. Like, just stay in your lane. Focus on yourself. You get better. You own it. This is your squad. So that's how I look at it. This is Joel Embiid. This is on Joel, and that's okay. It should be on him. He's their best player.
Yeah, and you're right, Jay, but I don't want to – I'm kind of with Freddie on the Harden situation. I don't want to weave the Lakers into this, but I'm going to weave them into it anyway. Mm-hmm. The best player is Anthony Davis. The best player is Joel Embiid. But they won Friday because of LeBron James. LeBron James had a moment scoring 30 points and doing what he needed to do to get him not have to go back to the Chase Center.
Right.
I look at it the same way in terms of Harden. You see that Embiid may be struggling or something. Now, you got to figure out how to turn the switch on. You got to figure out how to, as the guy who's been in these situations for many years in your career, how to find it. Whatever it is that you need to find, you need to dig deep and find it at a pivotal moment if you're trying to really win a championship. LeBron James was not going to let the Lakers have to go back to Golden State.
Absolutely.
That was not going to happen because they know if they'd have gone back to Golden State, they were going to lose. So that sixth game was really a seventh. Just like this was a seventh, there was no other opportunity. If the Lakers lose in six, they might as well not even get on the plane for seven. And that's what happened in the 76ers.
But they're never even in a situation without James having 45 in Game 1 and James having 42 in Game 4.
I understand.
Like, they're not even close.
I understand. I'm just saying in this particular moment, in a Game 7, you now, in my opinion, as the elder statement on the team, as far as I'm concerned, I know P.J. Tucker may be a little bit older, who knows, but I'm just talking about as the player with all the accolades and the MVP and all those sort of things, you got to take it to the next level.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.